The information shared in this podcast is general in nature and is intended for educational purposes only. It does not take into account your personal circumstances and should not be relied upon as financial or tax advice. For advice specific to your situation, please speak with a qualified professional. Welcome to Aussie Bookkeeping Basics, the podcast that helps Australian small business owners understand their numbers without the jargon. Welcome to Aussie Bookkeeping Basics. Today, we're talking a simple weekly bookkeeping routine to help make this calm and manageable. So, a simple weekly bookkeeping routine is probably something that you are aware of but have not been implementing if you're anything like a lot of Australian business owners. What we're going to talk about is not the daily pressure, right? It's just take the pressure off, take a deep breath, take a swig of your coffee. We're going to make it calm and manageable. So we're talking about weekly rhythms, we're talking about small habits, and we're talking about preventing backlog and stress. So weekly rhythm, not daily pressure. On a week-to-week basis, what works really, really well for most business owners is to do 4 things. 3 things for sure, and a 4th just makes it kind of extra nice. First thing you should be doing is issuing invoices. For service-based business owners, myself included, I have been terrible at issuing my invoices regularly. This then builds up that feeling of anything you procrastinate about is going to end up, you're just putting off the hard. You're not actually removing the hard, you're just making it more hard, but like a snowball effect, right? So let's get to it before it even gets to the snowball stage. So issue your invoices regularly, particularly if you're a service-based business. For those who run a products-based business, you're probably doing this already, because often you'll need to get payment before you can send out the goods, right? So that from a product-based business, that's a lot easier. So service-based businesses, send out your invoices weekly. Next thing you need to do is to match or record the payments that are made. Again, if you're a product-based business owner, you probably do this pretty well. Often e-commerce websites like Shopify and other like WooCommerce and things like that. Again, you'll need to see those payments coming in before you can post or send out the goods, right? So you're probably doing that pretty well. But service-based businesses, we are not so great at doing that, generally speaking, because we can get bogged down in the actual doing and not the invoicing and that kind of stuff. So the way I do it, for example, is making Monday mornings my invoicing morning and my registering payments morning. So on Monday morning, first thing I do when I sit down to my desk, other than grabbing a coffee, because, coffee is life, I sit down and I look at last week and I see, is there anything else that I needed to invoice out from last week? And then also last week, I look at the bank feeds coming into my accounting system. You could easily do this as well, just with your bank statements or just logging into your bank transactions. But just registering, entering in the payments that you've received. So that's the first 2, right? The next thing you need to do, or that I recommend doing, again, no pressure, right, is just checking and sending out invoices that are overdue. Again, small steps just make this much more manageable. Just send a reminder, hey, life happens. Could you please pay this invoice? Let me know if there's any issues, kind of deal. And also, by doing this one small step before it becomes an issue, or at the very beginning of where someone's having trouble paying, you're actually doing a couple of things. You're preventing yourself from having to chase a debt later, and thus potentially saving yourself some costs of debt management, like debt collector engagement type stuff. But also When it's in those first stages, the client is people are much more likely to just go, oh, whoops, I forgot about that. Or they're much more amenable to come to the table about making a small payment or coming up with a payment plan, for example. But the longer it goes on, the more awkward, I guess. You're just kicking awkward down the road. So the longer it is, the more awkward it gets. So let's just be proactive about this, right? Number 4 thing that I recommend you do is to organize your receipts. So look at all of the things that you spent last week and make sure that you've just taken a photo of them and uploaded them to your storage, whether that's to your accounting software or whether that's to like a Dropbox or even just to your hard drive or even like a folder inside your phone pictures gallery, right? Any of these systems work. Just pick a system and stick to it, right? So the 4 things: send out your invoices, enter your payments, send out reminders for any outstanding invoices, and organize your receipts. That's like the 4 essentials. Now, a couple of other things I also recommend doing, because this is going to have, again, that proactive approach. You're going to have more idea of what's happening in your business financially. I recommend that you also reconcile your transactions. So not just entering them in, but also matching them with the bank transactions. If you're not sure what I mean by reconcile transactions, it's basically you just get your transaction list or your bank statement from your bank account, log into internet banking and download the bank statement. And you match those transactions with what you've recorded in your accounting system, whether that accounting system is actually software or whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or whether it's a really old school book. Doesn't matter. The method doesn't matter. The place of recording it doesn't matter, but making sure that it's accurate, that's what matters. And then the next thing is just to review your numbers. Have a look at things that might be coming out this week, things that need paying in the next week or 2, just so you have a bit of an idea, again, what your financials are doing in your business, not just relying on that bank account balance, right? Okay. So, again, some small habits, not daily pressure, just a regular appointment with yourself. And by doing these small things, you are going to prevent overwhelm later. You're going to, if you did this solidly every week, I can promise you that by the end of the quarter, if you're registered for GST, you will have done 90% of what you need to do. And that stage, it's going to feel like, oh, so achievable, right? Like you're going to be so motivated because the dopamine's going to be hitting because it's like, oh, I've done my stuff, right? So small habit, less overwhelm, and it prevents that backlog and stress down the track. So one of the ways that I do that in my business, one of the things I offer is a new membership called the Cashflow Collective. The membership is actually going to launch on the 1st of June. It's coming. But one of the things I do inside that membership is actually have these co-working sessions where you bring your cuppa, you bring your receipts and your accounting software, and it's an appointment with me and a bunch of other people who are all doing the same. And each month we get together and we all just sit and work on our bookkeeping. And it's just like, it's such a beautiful space of community. And you've got the support of having a bookkeeper, i.e. me, right, by your side virtually to help you, answer questions and things like that. It's a beautiful community. Anyway, so Cashflow Collective, go and have a look at that on my website later if you're keen. But yeah, so back to this, a simple weekly bookkeeping routine. Again, we're talking calm, manageable weekly rhythms, right? Small habits, not pressure. So if you're having a simple routine like this would help you stay on track, I've also got a template on my website that you can go and have a look. And it gives you these very simple steps that just really help you keep on track, that you can actually print out or you can save on your computer. Again, remember, small habits prevent overwhelm. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. Thanks so much for spending this time with me. If you'd like to keep learning together, please hit follow and stay connected through the Aussie Bookkeeping Basics podcast. I'll see you in the next episode.